Good morning and welcome to our coverage of England versus Sweden in the Under-23 Women's European Championship final. This is, of course, not strictly a Euros, but it is a chance for these England players to get their hands on a bit of silverware in what is meaningful competition. The second season of this, Germany are the holders, created to turn friendlies into something that's got a bit more competitive bite. And I'm delighted to say, alongside yours truly, Michael McCann, is Leanne Sanderson, a Lionesses legend with 50 caps to her name and 15 goals as well. You know what it's like to be at that top level, but also on your way through and on that journey through. And today's such an important part of that progression for these young players.
Yeah, I'm loving the competitiveness, Michael, with these games. The fact that they're going to get to play in a final, you know, for their country, these young Lionesses, you know, there's a massive pathway now to the first team. We've seen players step up, you know, Kira Barry's there at this moment in time, formerly of the Under-23. So there definitely is that pathway where Serena will select them. And as someone that's played, you know, the Under-21s, Under-23s, I know what it means to play for your country. I know how that feels. And to have these types of games that mean something, that are meaningful, I think is excellent. And as we saw on Monday night, you know, young players like Chloe Sari getting player of the match, 17 years old, playing in this Under-23 tournament is incredible. So it's a great platform for them. They've had a lot of things they've had to turn over in the last few months. You know, Emma Coates was there, Lauren Smith was there, Lydia Bedford's now there. So they've had to take on a lot of information. And I think it's good for these young Lionesses to be tested.
We can have a look at what they're playing for, of course. No extra time today, so that also means that, of course, we could well have the prospect of a penalty shootout. So that it just gives that different context to what we're seeing here. And this is a competition that was created 3 seasons ago just to get the top European nations regularly playing each other. The semi-finals and finals element were added last season. And it's definitely a welcome addition, isn't it? Because it doesn't mean that you just have a league phase and that's it. And it's games, not quite for the sake of games, but it's games that have got something more to it.
Definitely. And I think, you know, when I was playing, not to go back to those days, but like we always played against Scandinavian teams a lot, teams like Germany. And I think it's fantastic to see, you know, teams like Sweden, Norway, those types of teams that were obviously Sweden beat them to get here. Netherlands the other day, you and I did that game, you know, a couple of months ago when it was 1-1 and then they go and beat them in Lydia Bedford's first game. You know, a second game's a final. Doesn't get much bigger than that. So, yeah, I think every time you represent your country, it's a massive honour. And I mean, look at this pitch, Michael. I mean, it's fantastic, isn't it? I know they played there on Monday as well, but, like, the temperature looks amazing. And I just think there's nothing like playing for your country in a game that's more meaningful, because sometimes the shirt is too heavy. Just because these players are playing in the Under-23s doesn't mean they're automatically going to play for the senior team. That is obviously the objective and the plan, but it doesn't always work like that. And you have to have everything. You can't just be a good footballer. You have to have all the attributes, psychologically, physiologically, everything, mentally. You know, and that's why I say sometimes wearing the shirt can be too heavy for a lot of people. And I think they have the right people around them now. You know, the technical staff, all the staff are there to help. And I think it's fantastic.
There is, of course, also a third-place playoff today. That happens in Pinatar between the 2 beaten semi-finalists. England edged past the Netherlands 1-0 on Monday. You may remember watching Izzy Goodwin's goal making the difference. Meanwhile, Sweden had their own 1-0 success, a late goal giving them a victory against their Nordic rivals, Denmark. So those two will be in the third-place game. But our focus, of course, primarily is on this final. And both of these teams are also the group stage winners. England won Group A, suffering just 1 defeat. Meanwhile, Sweden were the winners of Group B. Sweden did have 1 setback, though, losing 3-0 against the Netherlands, who England, of course, beat on Monday. England, of course, meanwhile, had a terrible start to life in this competition this season, that 5-0 defeat against Germany, but ever since then have been unbeaten and have steadily built some momentum. Yeah,
and I think when you've got top quality players that are playing in the WSL, I think it makes a big difference. You know, Goodwin, then again in Williams, we were there, you know, when she scored her first goal in her first start for her country, and I think she's been excellent. She's got an assist the other day. So a lot of these players, Lexi Potter as well, I speak so highly of her, you know, doing fantastically well. Ruby Mace, there's a lot of real top quality players in this team that train with their first team, play for their first teams, and I think there's something to be said about that.
And I think as well, it's reflected a bit in selection, because if you had 2 friendlies in this international break, Leanne's nodding alongside me, you probably would have seen 5 or 6 changes today. But the fact that you've gone from a semi-final into a final means that there is a real onus on Lydia Bedford, even though it's only her second game in charge, to actually look at her squad here at the Enrique Roca Stadium and be like, who are my best from these 23 to win me this final? And to that end, England have made just one change. Eleanor Klinger drops out, Olivia McLaughlin comes in. Sweden have made a couple of changes of their own. It is England against Sweden for the right to win the women's under-23 European competition in the second season of its existence. Germany are the holders. There will be a new name on that trophy today, though. And who will it be? Can the young Lionesses get themselves some silverware to finish off this international season in style? Or will Sweden have something to say about that? Both sides came through tight semi-finals with 1-0 wins. England beating the Netherlands on Monday thanks to Izzy Goodwin. Sweden, meanwhile, 1-0 victors against Norway and Pinatar thanks to a sensational story when on debut Mathilde Jansen came on and scored in the 90th minute. Kick-off to come very shortly, but first it's time for the national anthems. The two national anthems complete, Thou Ancient, Thou Free for Sweden, which was followed, of course, by God Save the King for England. Always a proud moment for players from both teams to be out there lined up for them. And we are mere minutes away from this final. Beautiful conditions, 23 degrees, barely a cloud in the sky. We are all set for drama aplenty, and just to remind you, no extra time as well. We will go straight to penalties if level after the 90. Vilma Leidhammar on the right, the Swedish skipper, shaking hands with Ruby Mace, the England captain. And the referees and match officials in for the formalities. And like any good captain, Mace wins the toss and then immediately has to look across to her bench and say, what do we actually want to do here? Do we want the ball? Which way might we want to kick? All sorted now. And the exchange of pennants also complete. All set for photos of various kinds before the real business of the day can get underway.
Yeah, these are the types of things you have to do, Michael, obviously, when you're playing for your country, but it's like the last thing you want to do, if you get what I mean. Like, you know, when you're taking pictures, you just want to get out there. And I think when you I like the fact it's an early kickoff, because often when I played for England, I have late kickoff. Some players liked it, but I used to feel like I'd love to wake up and play football. Like, it doesn't get much bigger than that and better.
In terms of the Swedish team, Magnus Wikman has made a couple of changes to the side that won 1-0 against Denmark on Monday. Elsa Palgamde drops out Matilda Jansen, who came on and scored the winner on her debut, gets the start in midfield ahead of her, and Nesrin Akin makes room at right back for Julia Rannarsson. It will be a 4-3-3 for Sweden, as it will for England, who make one alteration. Olivia McLaughlin comes in the attacking midfield role for Eleanor Klinger. Izzy Goodwin continues up front. She'll be a threat. She scored 4 goals in just 5 under-23s games. As England hunt for some silverware. Both sides with no shortage of options on the bench, of course, with having 23-player squads, maximum of 5 subs that they can use in up to 3 intervals, but a change at half-time wouldn't count as part of that.
You made a really good point, Michael, as well, in the lead up to the game when you were saying about team selection-wise, based upon this being a final.
And before kick-off, both teams will link arms around the centre circle in a show of solidarity that there is no room for racism in football. Well, a strong message there from both teams and the match officials. There is no place for discrimination of any kind in our great game. Indeed, it's sport that, when used in the right way, can powerfully bring us all together. So, final words in the huddles. England, of course, in predominantly the white, and Sweden in the mainly very deep shade of blue with a bit of yellow in there. England attacking from left to right, Sweden from right to left. Delighted to have alongside me a bona fide Lionesses legend in Leanne Sanderson for it. Good win, England's heroine on Monday. And it was a good win on Monday, thanks to that goal from Isabel Goodwin. And England will hope that it's a similar story today in this second season with competitive finals to end it of the women's under-23 European competition, designed to create meaningful minutes and occasions like this for these talented youngsters. England against Sweden is your matchup, and we expect, based on history and the impressive performances of both across this campaign, this to be a hotly contested, tight game.
Yeah, always. I mean, I love that about the Scandinavian teams. They're always in and around it, whether it be senior level, under-23s. And I think this will be a really good test for this young Lionesses side. I think a lot of these players, you know, I like the fact that Lydia Bedford's kept a similar team, made that one change. And you mentioned it before, Michael, about the team selection. Often at times when I played for England, you'd almost have preconceived ideas before the game of substitutions you want to make. And whereas I quite like the fact that these players are going out there to win. Ultimately as well, you want to develop players. It's difficult for the managers and the coaching staff because you want to win, but equally you want to develop the players so they can kind of push on and play in the senior team. So it's that kind of fine line between that.
Lydia Bedford, of course, still settling into her role in her first camp as England under-23's boss. Someone who brings with her experience as a coach at Arsenal, a head coach at Leicester, as well as spell working in Canada at Calgary Wild. Tidy in behind from Silcott. First touch of the day for Keating. Taya Goldie, quietly impressive on Monday, picked out by once upon a time Spurs and West Ham head coach Rhian Skinner, who was co-commentating with me, as one of England's most impressive performance. Foul from Hanavik.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see as well. I love the fact that Lexi Potter and Ruby Mace are playing in that midfield together. I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, almost a single pivot or a double pivot. One will check it, and I think they've got really good reading of the game.
One thing to say, based on speaking to analysts And various people I consider to be pretty brainy when it comes to all things women's football about the way these two match up is I would predict that England will have much more of the ball, but that Sweden will be largely quite comfortable with that, because this is a Swedish side that are, in the way that they're built, extremely dangerous on the counter-attack.
Yeah, and they're usually quite direct, Sweden as well. They're good at getting the ball out wide, delivering on the run. And I think England will have a lot of the possession. I mean, Chloe Sari, what a performance she had on Monday night. I love this player. Keep talking about her age all the time. You know, such a young 17-year-old that is playing in this under-23 side. And there's definitely a space in the senior side for her, I think, in the future. If she keeps working hard, keeps her head down, you know, she's getting minutes for Chelsea, coming off the bench and sometimes starting. So, real bright talent.
Yeah, she's very much the baby of the under-23s. No foul given. Early chance here for England. And an early goal for England. What a strike from Izzy Goodwin. Sweden stood off and paid the ultimate price. Inside the opening 3.5 minutes, it is a 5th goal in her 6th under-23s game for Izzy Goodwin.
Yeah, lovely strike, lovely celebration as well. That's what we play for, moments like this. And I'm going to ask questions, not taking anything away from the goal of the goalkeeper. I'm not quite sure she should be getting beat from there, but it's that player, Chloe Sari, puts the pressure on, forces an error. It's a poor turnover from Sweden. But there's only one thing on Goodwin's mind, and that is shoot on sight, strike it as soon as you can. It's a poor giveaway, like I said, but it's all about the pressure from Sari. Picks it up 20, 25 yards out. Great strike, but I still think the keeper's got to be doing a little bit better there, but fantastic start from the Lionesses.
And there was a moment as well after losing the ball where Sweden were busy, guilty of not quite reacting to the mistake. It's often something you hear coaches talk about. It's one thing to make the error, but it wasn't really that immediate reaction from the back line to what had happened, and felt like Izzy Goodwin had quite a lot of time to not only get the ball at her feet, assess her options, and think, actually, I'm going to get a strike off on goal here.
Well, it was Hannah Wieck that gave away the ball in that situation, but they gave away the ball in their build-up play, Michael, you know, and that's something that you never can do. Mistakes happen, ultimately it does, but that's why there was no bodies around and no numbers, because everybody's focused on the build-up play that they were trying to do. But I think it was really good high press from the Lionesses to turn over the ball in that situation. And when you're in the form for England that Goodwin is in after scoring on Monday night, like when you're scoring goals, you just want the next game to come and you're in good form, and she's doing really well for this team.
Sweden now have to find a reaction. It is a team that have had a very impressive qualifying campaign. Just one defeat, a 3-0 loss against the Netherlands on match day 2. They beat Italy 2-1 and have seen off Belgium 3-1, Romania 5-1, and then Norway 1-0 on Monday. No offside flag here, and Keating has to come out and play sweeper keeper. And that is what Maya Boudin will do. She's your serial poacher. She'll hang off the last defender. You know, Mia Eriksson, a friend of mine who was director of football at Linköping in the Damallsvenskan last season, described Boudin as a fast runner, strong, good in one-on-one situations, and most importantly, a threat inside the box, a great striker for a team playing on the counter-attack. So she fits the identity of how Sweden want to play very well.
Yeah, I think that was very tight as well. I don't think they want to be leaving Silcock 1v1 with Boudin in that situation, because it was very, very tight. It's a good call from the assistant referee in the end.
Silcock, a space out here for Lena Gunning-Williams. Scored on her first start in March against the Netherlands. Gets the pass away, wants the 1-2. Little touch on it from Rannarsson. Gunning-Williams. Forced back for now.
See, Sweden here are sitting very, very deep. I think you're asking for trouble, because England is so good at being able to possess the ball, pick their moments. There's a lot of space, especially out wide. If they can move the ball quickly, England, they can get a lot of joy, because Sweden are just sitting so low and so deep.
Goldie. Silcock. England just looking to pick the lock. Sweden defending quite narrow in that low block. So the wide areas might give England the most joy. Gunning-Williams. Slaloms inside. Denton. Denton's cross. Goodwin managed to take it down. Slightly too heavy on the touch. It's lost by Matilda Nildin. So England will come at Sweden once more. Gunning-Williams has managed to win England their first corner of the game. Couldn't quite be stopped despite a despairing dive from Ragnarsson.
Yeah, I think Lydia Bedford will be delighted. This opening 8 to 10 minutes has been excellent from the Lionesses. They've started the game really well, pressing really high. I'm not quite sure what Sweden haven't really come out the dressing room yet. They're sitting very deep, and you know, I fancy England to score again at some point soon because they're creating opportunities and they're not taking their foot off the gas either.
First corner of the game for England. They offered a consistent threat from set pieces on Monday in the semi-final win. Chloe Sawi to deliver. Sawi's ball in, and it is nodded in. It's 2-0 England inside the opening 9 minutes. The set-piece routine works perfectly. And it's Hannah Silcock who is on target. England loving life in the sun in Spain. And Sweden have got to regroup, and fast.
Great goal. And I mentioned it literally 30 seconds ago. I fancied England to get another one. It was a lovely corner from Chloe Sari, and Silcock gets up nice and high. Fantastic strike from her, fantastic header. Love that. And the Lionesses have started so well. I don't think they can believe the amount of time and space they have on this field. It's a massive pitch. But we'll take another look here. Lovely movement, you can see there. Silcock just steps off. It's a brilliant header. Not quite sure what the keeper's doing again, because it was almost like, you know, it was good situation for England, a good set piece. It's a lovely header, but the keeper, almost like the keeper thinks the ball's going wide. But something that's so underestimated now, Michael, is a good set piece, and that is a really good corner from Sari. What a start from England.
And anyone who watched the game on Monday won't be too surprised to see England score from a corner, because there was 4 Chloe Sawi corners on Monday, all of which led to England players winning the aerial collision, 2 of which led to efforts that were on target. It was a consistent part of the threat that Lydia Bedford's team offered, as Boudin looked to have lost it for a second, but possibility here for Neil Din. Too much on the pass, though.
Yeah, they just haven't had the quality today, Sweden. In the first 10 minutes, you know, it's difficult because it's a bit, you're a bit shell-shocked, you know. It's a final, 2-0 down after 10 minutes. I think the Lionesses have started this game impeccably, and Sweden just haven't got going at all. But they can't take, you know, their eye off the prize, this Lionesses team. They have to stay focused, keep maintaining possession, and moving the ball nice and quick on this massive pitch. I keep saying, look how much space they've got. You know, it's almost like tactically they've got everything down to a T. Ruby Mace is having a field day out there. They've got no one near them. I mean, Sweden are chasing shadows right now.
It's funny you mentioned the pitch. That was something that Rianne Skinner and I talked about in that semi-final on Monday a lot as well, because in terms of dimensions, both width and length, it is right on the upper end of what the regulations allow. So it is one of the bigger end of pitches that these players, most of whom play their domestic football in England or Sweden, will be playing on anywhere. So it offers plenty of room for that expansive passing game, and particularly if you're trying to defend narrow, as Sweden are, it makes life quite tricky. And just on that note, the pitch that Sweden played on in their semi-final on Monday, I know from speaking to a source, is about, in Pinatar, around 12-13% smaller, which is a massive difference.
Yeah, it does make a difference, and I can see, my eyes don't lie with regards to how big this field is. And I think, you know who this bodes well for? The midfielders. I think Lexi Potter and Ruby Mace will have a lot more space, as we've seen in this first 12 minutes, getting on the ball. And I think England can also switch the point of attack. Lena Gunning-Williams can keep a little bit more width. He's coming inverted quite often, which I understand. It's the first 12 minutes, but I think if she can keep her width, I think she can have a field day out on this right-hand side.
Well, Leidhammer got into a nice pocket of space there, but her pass was not quite right. That allowed England to tidy up. Ticked on by Löving. Now Sweden's turn to make use of this big pitch. Very strong. Wins the throw off Sawi, who covered back nicely.
That's the type of width I was talking about that England need to be keeping. Bergström did a really good job there. It's the first time we've really seen Sweden. And you can see it's taken a lot. The temperatures are taking a lot out of the players already in this opening 12 minutes or so.
Sawi wins it from the throw. It's a bit of a tame concession of possession from Sweden, but England give it straight back. Bergström, one of a number of names in this Swedish side that if you're a keen follower of the WSL, you might recognise. 5 of this starting 11 for Sweden play their football in England. Hannah Wijk with Tottenham, Mikael Toh with Crystal Palace, Vilma Leidhammer signed for Birmingham City a couple of months ago. Bergström herself at Liverpool, of course, and Matilda Neildin, sister of Amanda, at Tottenham Hotspur.
My one criticism of the Lionesses would be they need to take better care of the ball when they have it, because I think at times they're rushing it. There's a couple of situations they're trying to go long to Goodwin, and they don't need to. I think they can play through the midfield. Ruby Mace did a fantastic job moments ago at retrieving the ball, came out with it. I think they need to try and find McLaughlin a little bit more as well, almost in that number 10 spot, so she can play through the lines.
Yeah, this is the kind of day. It's 23 degrees, but it's Spanish humidity as well. If you can make your opponents chase shadows for long periods of time, will tire the opposition out. Here's Gunning Williams round the outside. Almost got through. It's Julia Rannarsson who manages to get back and make the intervention, but it's a second corner for England of the afternoon, and we know what happened from the first. Hannah Silcock headed in for 2-0.
You know what, Rannarsson did really well there, because when you see Lennon Gunning-Williams on the ball 1v1, I was expecting her to kick it and get to it. Rannarsson did a really good job there of being able to recover, because she was left 1v1 against Gunning-Williams.
What have England got up their sleeve from the set piece? Moa Edward quickly organising her defence. 25 years old, one of the players in the overage slots that are available for this competition. The Lionesses haven't chosen to use them in their matchday squad. Referee just dealing with a bit of pushing and shoving in the box. Sawi to deliver. The bodies would suggest it's going in the 6-yard box. Only half away. Bit of a scramble, but eventually boot put to ball by Wijk.
I mean, that's another unbelievable ball from Chloe Sawi from this right-hand side with the left foot. It's so dangerous. Really good play.
Sawi with another chance to deliver. And delivers nicely, inviting a final finish from Goodwin that it didn't quite get, but more positive probing from England.
Brilliant ball again from Chloe Sawi on this right-hand side. It was interesting because by the time it fell to Goodwin, it was almost like she hesitated. Was she going to go over her head? Was she going to go with the instep to try and volley it? Sawi just makes it look so easy, providing that service. And I think a player of Goodwin's quality, you'd expect her to do a little bit better in that moment, because it's a gift. I'm not saying it was an easy opportunity, but a good one.
Yeah, Chloe Sawi certainly doing her case no harm. Of course, England senior Lionesses 1-0 winners against Spain, but one of the talking points around that, Ellen White, Farrah Williams, Steph Horton, all Lionesses legends in discussion about England's right-back problem in terms of who might follow Lucy Bronze one day, but also all in agreement that in both full-back areas there is a little bit of a lack of natural full-backs, as opposed to the likes of an Alex Greenwood or a Maya Letizier, asking someone that tends to play centre-back more often maybe to step out. And even at 17, someone like Sawi is doing her case no harm in that particular regard.
Yeah, I don't think it's a matter of if for Chloe Sawi. I think it's a matter of when she gets called up to the senior team. I think that position, as you mentioned, has been a big conundrum for England on that left-hand side, even way back when Rachel Daly had to play there and did an unbelievable job. I'm not sure many centre-forwards would be able to drop in there and do what she did and win the Euros and do it fantastically well. So I think for Chloe Sawi, she just needs to continue doing what she's doing, keep her head down. You know, she's got unbelievable ability. And this is a player that didn't always play in that position. You know, and timing is everything. You know, you've got big competition in the senior side, and like I said, it doesn't automatically mean because you're in this team you'll get the opportunity. But we've seen players, Kira Barry, be called up. Erica Meg Parkinson, which caught everybody by surprise. So if you're doing well, Serena of England will call you up, but you have to take care of business, what's in front of you now. And certain players on this team are certainly doing that.
Izzy Goodwin with a goal straight out the top draw and a celebration straight off TikTok. And then Hannah Silcott scoring here and immediately being completely bundled by her teammates. Didn't have any chance to get any pre-rehearsed celebration she had out. Sweden with the cross. It was from Neodin. First real significant attack of the game for Sweden. Karto up against Sawi, who wins it pretty comfortably. And then for a second look to be trying to get a touch to turn it into a goal kick. Does then get it forward towards Goodwin, who couldn't quite bring it under control.
So that's an opportunity there. You can see Lexi Potter did really well to show, but England are trying to go too quick back to front for me, Michael. I think they can take another couple of passes. Ruby Mace and Lexi Potter are always available, but they're trying to get the ball to Goodwin so quickly, and then there's no one around Goodwin.
Goodwin has it taken off her there by Lisa Lurving. And I guess that's the other problem Izzy Goodwin's got, which is she's always got Lisa Lurving and Emma Holmqvist for company. So one centre-half, as Lurving did there, can come in front of her and try and take it off her, knowing that even if it doesn't work, there's cover in behind.
But that's where McLaughlin needs to then make that third player run as well then, in behind. Maybe Goodwin makes that run as a disguise, drops in, and then that third player run. I used to love doing it with Jordan Nobbs. Jordan was one of the best I've ever played with at doing that, where if I dropped in, I knew that she would go. We had really good telepathy in the senior side with doing that. And I think McLaughlin's a fantastic player. When I've seen her play, you know, when she was at Villa, when I've seen her play for this under-23 side, I think she's really good. But right now, 20 minutes into the game, haven't really seen her that much.
Yeah, Liv McLaughlin, a name that's been around for a long time. Almost a half-century of appearances for Aston Villa. As that's another look at the, well, possible challenge, if you want to call it that, from Silcock on Budin. Sweden trying to get one back. That's another decent ball through. And a first shot on target for Sweden. Maya Budin with another one of those curving runs that is a bit of a trademark of hers, playing off the last defender. And it is a save you'd expect Keating to make, but it's a moment of promise for Sweden.
Yeah, really good run from Bergström there on that right-hand side, coming in. Really good save in the end from Kiara Keating, and it was a good strike from Bodine in that moment. She is causing problems, Michael. I mean, as much as this Lionesses team have started the game really well, 20 minutes in, I still think they need to stay switched on, because as we've seen there, Kiara Keating pulled off a really good shot stop.
Keating happy to roam. Haven't seen Sweden really interested in pressing England player for player much. Sawi, who just last month signed first professional contract with Chelsea, playing two age groups up here. Most of her 17-year-old compatriots are, of course, part of the England under-19 squad, who have qualified for the under-20s World Cup, but unfortunately haven't qualified for the under-20s Euros after recent defeats against Wales and Switzerland. Under-17s in happier news have qualified for the Euros in Northern Ireland after 3 wins from 3, and those Euros will also serve as effective World Cup qualifiers. But Sawi, unlike other 17-year-olds, is long gone from both of those two squads, established in the U23s as Silcock's pass is cut out. England dreaming of a third before a quarter of the game's gone. Gunning-Williams gets them the throw.
I mean, I think it shows you the levels that even her club, Chelsea, think of her. I remember in the Champions League this season, everybody was expecting Sonia Bonpastor to bring on more senior players. She brings on Chloe Sari against FC Twente when they need to win the game. That time they put her on, it was a draw. So the prospect is there, the hope is there. But equally, there's players like Lexi Potter that I think have a lot to offer as well. And hopefully a lot of these young players will continue to get more minutes. A lot of them, look, Denton's gone out to NWSL with Bay. So a lot of players, need to be getting more minutes, especially at the senior level. But even training in those environments, Michael, it's good for them. Sometimes the training environments can be so intense. I'm sure for Chelsea players, Arsenal players, City players, it's difficult. Every single day is like a cup final.
Saw a little shot there of the Swedish head coach, Magnus Wikman. Penny for his thoughts as his side trying battle their way back into it. And there's Lydia Bedford in her second game as England boss. Did an extended interview that you can read on the FA website, all about her coaching journey to this point, and feeling a bit full circle, having previously worked with the England age groups. Back 4 years later, involved again. And there's actually a few players around this under-23 side that she previously worked with in the under-17s. Foul on Leidhammer. It was just caught late.
I think that makes a difference as well, having people that have kind of been in the setup and the system, because ultimately they know what it takes to play for England, the pathway, the systems. They want to play similarly to how the senior team play, so that when they get into the first team, it's not much of a culture shock for them. So, yeah, it was interesting, because when we did the game against the Netherlands, at that moment in time, Lauren Smith was in charge as interim, and I think it was about 2 or 3 days later was when they announced Lydia Bedford, because Lauren Smith was in the running for that. But for Lydia, it doesn't get much better than second game in charge and you're in a final, does it?
Chance to get herself some silverware. She also has experience in the men's game that I know she found very valuable as the Brentford under-18s head coach in 2023. Became the first female to work in a coaching capacity in a Premier League side. Just slightly late in on McLaughlin, who was trying to turn past that first layer of the press. Challenge from Matilda Janssen, who was Sweden's heroine on Monday, with quite the story that she won't be forgetting anytime soon. Came on and scored the winner in the 90th minute of the semi-final, when the game was mere moments away from going straight to a penalty shootout. She's also someone that has switched nationality. She was born in Germany to a German father and a Swedish mum. Played for Germany in all previous age groups, and I know Sweden were absolutely delighted that she switched her nationality a few months ago. For those curious, until you've played a senior competitive game, you are not, in the long term, linked to that particular country. Shot from distance. Keating makes the save. Ambitious.
Do you know what? It did look ambitious, but it was just poor execution in the end, because it was definitely on. I was thinking, you know, at that moment in time, that's a bit overzealous, but like Chiara Keating was a little bit off her line, but always had it covered.
Chance on the break. Excellent interception, and possibilities here all of a sudden for Rannarsson, who's still going. And the pass is good. Slight deflection on the shot. It was an important block from Goldie, and that allowed Keating to make the save a little more comfortably than she otherwise might have done to deny Leidhammer. Yeah,
really good play again for Rannarsson in this moment. For me, Silcock has to go through her there, you know, take the player, take the ball as well. I think she needed to be a bit stronger in the tackle there, but good, again, positioning from Chiara Keating. And it shows you, you know, I know they're 2-0 up and they've started the game really well, but they have to stay switched on. You can see there, Lennigan and Williams gave away the ball on this right-hand side. I'm okay with that. She's in an attacking position, but the players just have to recover a little bit better.
Sweden will know if they can get one goal back, it changes that dynamic and sense of dominance for England. Referee was playing advantage for a slight foul.
I mean, that to me is not a foul. I think Lexi Potter just shows her physicality there. Looks like potentially, is there a hydration break? That's what it looks like.
Yeah, so we had these on Monday as well in the semi-final. 24 degrees, but it is the Spanish humidity, and we are on a midday local kickoff time start, so we're pretty much playing in as hot a part of the day as you can, and so very much prioritising player welfare. It's fair to say that, particularly if you've been playing in the Damallsvenskan over the winter, which, if you know anything about Swedish winters, you'll know what I'm talking about, often into the minus, then coming and playing a game in this conditions is quite different, albeit worth pointing out on that front, as some of our Swedish viewers might be screaming into their television sets. Of course, quite sensibly, the season is done on a calendar year over there, so the new season doesn't actually start until mid-March, but you've still got to be out doing pre-season from mid-January onwards in some pretty freezing conditions, so it's safe to say this is a bit of a culture shock, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah, and I mean, for me personally, I've always preferred playing in the heat rather than the cold. But at the same time, you know, the player welfare, you get the towels around your neck, the ice towels. when I played for England, we played in the Euros in Hungary. We used to run over and put our hands into this like ice bucket, because apparently when you get your wrists and certain parts of the body into it, Dawn Scott was our exercise scientist, and she was fantastic, and we used to do stuff like that because it's the fine margins, Michael. You know, in these types of games and conditions, players are not used to. Even the England players are not used to it. Even some like Anouk Denton right now in Bay, it's not hot at this moment in time, so players are not used to it.
These are the 2 goals that are the difference so far. Goodwin in the 4th minute, and then Hannah Silcock in the 9th. Of course, the senior Lionesses in action away against Iceland in the Nations League in Reykjavik for their 500th game on Saturday. And a nice moment off the field as the FA have unveiled a commemorative blue plaque in Nuneaton to permanently mark the site of the first official England women's home fixture, which was an 8-0 win in the West Midlands in June 1973. A victory by that resounding margin against Scotland, and Pat Thrift scored England women's first ever hat-trick. And it was nice that Pat was able to be there to unveil the plaque, as were various players from that 1973 team. Across 500 games, 54 years, almost 250 players have represented the Lionesses, and of course you're watching right now a few like Ruby Mesa already have, and a few others who endeavour to do so soon. So a nice moment there to permanently mark a big moment in history.
Yeah, I think England have done a really good job in the FA. You know, the legacy caps. Obviously, Kira Walsh got her 100th the other day as well, and you know, it's brilliant to see the former players that represented the Lionesses when it wasn't so successful or popular. You know, there wasn't visibility then. So I love seeing all the older players at Wembley, you know, welcoming the players onto the pitch. I think it's a nice touch.
Yeah, that was almost telepathic from you, because as soon as you mentioned Kira Walsh, I was just about to say they had a lot of that 1973 squad as the flag bearers as well, which is so important that you keep those links from the past through to the present, and then what you're watching now, which of course is in many ways the future. More patient possession from England. We haven't got your more high gadget, whatever you want to put it, stats, but just from the eye test, I think England are up around 2/3 of the ball here, and they've just got to not lose concentration, though. I was just about to say, because Sweden are dangerous on the counter-attack, and they're trying to demonstrate that once more here.
This is also, it's difficult when you have so much of the ball. It's all about decision making. See, Silcock there had moments before that, had a lot of time on the ball, and now Sweden just seem to be, you know, taking the reins off a little bit, pressing a little bit higher. They're not sitting so deep, and I think England just needs to take better care of the ball, and I think they'll be okay, but they still need to stay switched on, because as you mentioned, Michael, Sweden are very good on the counter-attack and at switching the point of attack as well.
Foul from Potter on Janssen, and had it not been called a foul, England might have been in business on the break themselves there.
See, I don't think that's a foul. I mean, Lexi Potter, again, I think she's physical. I think she gets in, and I tend to agree with her on both the ones the referee's given. I understand why that is given, because the player's gone down, but I don't think that's a foul.
Potter, a good example of someone that has benefited from a meaningful loan spell. That's shepherded almost out by Denton, who has to be careful. Now has turned her way away from trouble. Potter having that stint at Crystal Palace last season where she got a lot of minutes, and that's helped her come back into the reckoning at Chelsea and be pushing for that opportunities in Sonia Bonpastor's senior team.
Yeah, definitely. I think Lexi Potter obviously got her first goal for Chelsea recently, started a couple of games, is getting more minutes, and
Ragnarsson does get it across, needed someone gambling at that far post.
Yeah, I think Anouk Denton down this right-hand side just needs to get a little bit tighter to Ragnarsson down this left, because she's getting a lot of joy the last kind of 10 minutes or so.
Sweden absolutely stepping up on a much higher press post the drinks break than anything we've seen beforehand. It's quite clear that's one of the tactical messages that has been passed on by Magnus Wickman, who's been in the national team set up across either the under-17 men's or then the women's under-23s team for just over a decade. There's always going to be some tactical tweaks, particularly from Sweden after that first quarter. Gunning Williams. Denton, captaining England for the first time in a pair of games this week. Sawi likes to do this, coming infield to offer a spare option. Mace. Shoved to the ground by Boudin. Pretty clear free kick. Bit of a forwards tackle.
Yeah, well done, Ruby Mace. Great use of the body. Lovely first touch to get it out of her feet as well. Foul all day long, and this is a really good position. Chloe Sawi looks like she's coming over to take it. In swinger, in and around the penalty spot, looking for Goodwin. Goldie as well in these moments. You can see Enda Bees just in that offside position, and she'll come back on side. But this is a really good spot, also for Silcock as well. And judging by how good England are on set pieces, definitely they should be putting one on the goalkeeper as well.
Sawi to deliver. Set up the second from a corner. It's another teasing delivery in, and Sawi will get another chance from the resulting corner, headed out by Rannarsson.
Rannarsson, I think, has been their best player in this first half for Sweden. I think on the attack, when she's had the ball, taking care of it, and her defensive work has been really good as well.
Can England create some more chaos from set pieces? Those four will all peel off in different directions, you'd expect. Sawi to deliver, goes near post. Still not away. It was Potter trying to get the strike off. And then it's Janssen with Gunning Williams for company. I think was trying to win the throw off her, but she's actually managed to get it forward to Neil Dean, who buys a free kick off Potter.
I tell you what, Lexi Potter, she's looking at the... it's like, you know, it's a contact sport. You're going to have that physicality. And every time, you know, Lexi Potter goes to the ball, it's like the ref's giving a foul every single time.
I guess there's a point, though, if you're Potter, where you then have to just slightly see the referee you've got and marginally adjust your game, though?
To a certain degree, yes, but...
You're playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, really, because you don't want to take that away from Lexi Potter's game, because the 3 times I've seen, I mean, I know opinions can divide, but I don't think they're fouls. I think you want your midfielder to get nice and tight. You know, just because a player goes down doesn't mean it's a foul. But I get what you're saying, you know, sometimes some referees, you have to be a bit cuter in how you go about your business, but I wouldn't want Lexi Potter to then stop being physical based upon the fact that the ref's giving a foul against her every time.
Yeah, she is someone who's not shy to that physical battle and is in there winning it back once more, but just running out of room. Lexi Potter, part of the under-19s team. There's a few in this sprinkled around this under-23 squad that qualified for the under-20s World Cup and was one of the most impressive in that journey, and so quite naturally has ended up making the step up. This is someone who was player of the match on her first WSL start for Chelsea. That was a bit of a coming-of-age performance. Lurving. England on a really high press, leaving near enough everybody except Moa Edrud with a marker for company. Rannarsson has had some impressive touches in this first half, but has lost it to Gunning Williams there. Possibilities for England in transition. Goodwin, scorer of the first. Gunning Williams. Goodwin again. Sweden have regrouped and found their shape nicely.
I also think, Michael, this could be a game where substitutions can make a big difference based upon, you know, the temperatures and the physicality of this game and the distances and the amount of ball that England do have. I mean, players like Lexi Lloyd-Smith potentially come into the game against the Netherlands as well, always occupies those areas. Obviously, Goodwin is getting a lot of the ball, but having to kind of check in with her back towards the goal. You know, McLaughlin's not really got into the game. I think Ruby Mace and Lexi Potter have had a solid first half. But I'd like to see this player get on the ball a little bit more, Gunning Williams, because magic happens when the ball is at her feet. But I don't think England have found a way of being able to use their width in this game.
Pass from Silcock cut out. McLaughlin wins it and then shows good physicality to keep it and might shoot and does shoot.
Yeah, I understand why McLaughlin hits that one, because it's almost a carbon copy of where Goodwin struck her first one from the edge of the box, but maybe she could have carried the ball a little bit more. But I'm liking McLaughlin getting into the game a little bit more.
someone who went away to Rangers to get meaningful minutes in the Scottish leagues. It's a dilemma we talked about a bit with Rhian Skinner on commentary on Monday for that semi-final for these young English players. It's hard to break in and get regular opportunities in the WSL, and so sometimes we'll see players head abroad to find ways of doing that, and McLaughlin has definitely benefited.
I think another player in Enderby as well is having a really, really good season at Liverpool. Not really got into the game this much yet, but I like her a lot. She's a fantastic finisher of the ball.
Yeah, hit the post on Monday, where England found the woodwork 3 times in the first half and then scored through Goodwin 48 seconds into the second. And that was the goal that was enough. Silcott slaloming past one, possibilities opening up. And Silcott thought that Goodwin was going to make that run in behind. Silcott will leave it for Gunning Williams. Potter tried to back heel, the ball passed her by. Key sliding challenge from Sawi. England keep the pressure on.
See, this is where I think England is difficult in moments like this, because they have to maintain possession but also move the ball nice and quick. I'm trying to understand also Sweden's game plan for this game. I mean, ultimately they didn't want to go behind so early on, but they haven't really offered much, Michael. I've been quite disappointed with how they've set themselves up. They've been deep most of the game, haven't really offered much in the attack. I think Renalson's been decent in certain areas, Bodine as well, making moves, but other than that, I think England have just been, you know, in control most of this half. Apart from a couple of chances Sweden have had, they've had the momentum, and I think they've stepped up to the plate today, the Lionesses.
I guess one thing that comes to mind with that is, firstly, you've got the shell shock of a team being 2-0 down after 9 minutes, but also tactically, a team that are built more often to be better without the ball and absorbing pressure than taking the game to the opposition and dominating the ball.
It's also quite difficult when you have so much possession, because it comes down to decision-making. I think England have done a really good job. I think there's been a couple of moments, it happens, you'll give away the ball, but I think England have been really good in this first half, and I think Lydia Bedford will be delighted with how her team have gone about their business. Still need another one for me. Still only 2-0.
Long way to go, of course. Just taking her time. Silcock, sometimes it can be important in its own way to take those moments to slow the game down in the hope that your opponents just take breath for a second and lose a bit of their shape or concentration. Now England play quicker through Enderby, linking up with Sawi. As Leanne Sanderson is alongside referred to, hasn't seen a lot of the ball in this first half, Enderby, as that's crossed towards Goodwin, who couldn't get a touch on it. It's another decent opportunity for England, who've had plenty of moments pushing and probing for the third goal. Nice cross from Taya Goldie. Came through the Arsenal Academy, had a loan spell at Watford and then London City before moving there permanently last year. Was player of the match in the 1-0 win against France away from home in March, where England secured qualification. Lexi Lloyd-Smith might have scored the goal that got them there, but England had to absorb a lot of pressure that day, and Goldie's work at centre-half was a big reason they got the clean sheet and are here in the final. Enderby. Still Enderby, decides to have a go. Always looked slightly off balance and almost in two minds as to whether to cross or shoot. It's a simple save for Moa Edrud. In the process, Anna Vik has gone down. This is absolutely not what Sweden need. Not long before half-time, and one of their best players in some discomfort.
Yeah, not something you like to see at any time. Hopefully, Hanavik will be okay.
Just the way she has gone down here and not moved at all instinctively gives you cause for particular concern. And if I had to guess, I would say that there's not really been any contact here. Vik was just trying to come in and turn her body inside to deal with Enderby's shot. Yeah, it's completely no contact. Don't want to sound like I'm fearing the worst, but I hope this isn't a knee injury, because that so often can spell particular trouble.
Yeah, especially when it's non-contact. She looks like she's in quite a lot of discomfort there. I feel for her.
Both sets of players taking a moment to get fluids on board while Hanna Wijk gets treatment. Wijk, who's probably one of the names better known in this Swedish lineup to followers of women's football. He might be based in England, signed for Spurs from BK Häcken in January of 2026, made a Swedish international debut in October of 2024, and she would have got a lot more than that one cap she's already got, but for a series of very unfortunately timed injuries. And so that only makes what we're watching here even more sad to see, because this isn't the first time by any means in a national team camp where injury struck at a really horrible time for Hanna Wijk. She's been a pretty much instant hit at Spurs under Martin Ho, a versatile wide midfielder or defender. And it does look like it's that right knee that is a real problem, and you can see not just the physical pain but the emotional pain that a player lets out in moments like that, which really does tell you that this is probably not good news at all for Hanna Wijk of Sweden. There will of course be a change. I would think that Atina Persson Lundgren as the backup centre-back might come on. Holmqvist might push outside. Clara Svensson might come on, or Erling Westlund at left-back. Or they're instead going to go to Nessun Akin. And that will mean probably a switch of flanks for Rannarsson. So let's hope this isn't as bad as it looks for Hanna Wijk. I guess one tiny positive is that she doesn't need the stretcher. That does at least give you some idea that maybe it's not quite as awful as we first feared.
Yeah, and it's interesting as well, because when things like this happen, as a teammate, you have to stay focused on what's in front of you. But it's really difficult when you see, you know, your teammate going off in this way. And I do think, you know, I'm not a doctor, but I do think she's going to need the stretcher in a second, because, yeah, she's not moving well at all.
Well, Nessun Akin comes on. At least one crumb of comfort for Sweden is that Akin was a key part of a Swedish defence that were impressive and solid in keeping a clean sheet in the semi-final on Monday. Fascinating to see quite what her and Rannarsson do, because Rannarsson's probably been Sweden's best player in the first half, so I'm not sure you necessarily, in some ways, want to pull her out of position.
No, I agree with you, and I think it's interesting because there was a moment where Lena Gunning-Williams ran infield across, and you could see Rannarsson completely followed her. That's clearly something. You don't see many teams that kind of play a mark now in modern day football, but I think clearly Rannarsson, I think she's done a really good job on Lena Gunning-Williams. To be fair, I don't think England have found Lena enough, but at the same time, I think Rannarsson's done a really good job on her.
Pass over hit from Rannarsson. Keating can cut it out. Foul from Potter on Mikato. Mikato, who's one of 5 in this Swedish lineup that plays in England, plays for Crystal Palace, played all but one WSL game for them last season. Chance in behind, and fighting her way through. Here is Neil Din. England scramble it away for now. Gunning-Williams back there. Bodin is hunting something. It's one of Sweden's best attacking platforms, and England have given it away again here in a bad area. And it almost opened up for Leidhammer. England just slightly inviting pressure onto themselves here, but Bodin just easing that away by having a pull at the shirt of Gunning-Williams.
Fortunately for England, Leidhammer hesitated in that moment. It was another poor giveaway inside the box as well. Good play from Lena Gunning-Williams, definite foul all day long. But yeah, fortunately for England, Leidhammer decided to hesitate, because I thought the shot was on. She'd have taken the touch out of her feet. Would have caused probably Chiara Keating a lot of problems, especially from that type of position.
Minimum 6 minutes added on. A lot of that coming from an unfortunate injury to Hanna Wijk. Taken down by Goodwin. Does manage to keep possession. Switched out left. Sawi doesn't have a lot ahead of her. Decides to go herself.
See, that's the move that I was saying about Michael. McLaughlin actually made that run. As soon as Goodwin checked in on the penalty in the halfway line, McLaughlin made that third player run, which then can occupy the centre-backs, because I think there's been a couple of times Goodwin's checking in and there's not been any runners in behind. I think that's something England could definitely do better in the second half. Maybe stretch the point of attack a little bit more, drag players out wide, because I think sometimes they're keeping everyone in front of them and it's making it easier for Sweden's back line. I think Ruby Mace and Lexi Potter have been really active, good movement, getting on the ball a lot. Silcock's had a lot of the ball in that centre-back position as well.
See again, Sweden pressing far higher. Budin and Leidhammer there, but with a big pitch like that, England breaking that first line of the press means that there's lots of room in here. Remember, half-time, don't go far. We'll have analysis and highlights from that first half. And you can subscribe to England YouTube channel for highlights, behind-the-scenes content, interviews, as well as live streams like this from across the men's and women's senior and age group teams. Foul from Mace on Leidhammer, who has looked, unsurprisingly, one of Sweden's most creative threats, their captain. She's a big reason why Birmingham City might be playing in the WSL next season. They signed her in January from Norrköping, and she scored 5 goals in 9, as well as a couple of assists. Now England's turn to have an injury. Not quite as serious you'd like to think as anything that happened to Hannah Vik, but just caught by Neil Din was Denton.
Yeah, those ones hurt for sure. You can see, looks like Denton just rolled her ankle in that moment. And they're one of those ones where they hurt initially, and then sometimes you can run them off. It's the weirdest pain ever. It looks like she's going to be okay. This is the moment here. Decent strike. Good positioning from Enderby. I like her coming in off that left-hand side. I think if she can get in these positions a little bit more, it doesn't quite catch the shot too truly, but good positioning for her.
The other positive for Denton, of course, that we're not long from half-time to get some treatment on it, as Budin is trying to get in behind and almost got one back right on the stroke of half-time. What a moment that could have been for Sweden.
That actually looked like a foul to me. I mean, I could see they kind of half appealed because Silcock was the other wrong side of Budin in that moment. But again, we've seen a couple of moments, Michael, where England have got caught in behind. Now, they are 2-0 up and they've played fantastic in this first half, but ultimate concentration is needed, because we know this scoreline. If Sweden was to get one, it could change the game completely. Although they haven't looked like scoring potentially, they had a few moments where England just need to stay switched on in that back line area.
Silcock. Budin has certainly lived up to what I mentioned. We would expect to see a serial poacher who is always sniffing around and playing off that last defender. Half-time here in Murcia in Spain, and it is early goals from Izzy Goodwin in the 4th minute and Hannah Silcock in the 9th that mean that England are in cruise control. Mia Enderby down after this incident right at the end of the half. Enderby just taking a knock to the head. Hopefully 15 minutes of treatment at the break with the physio will make whatever's happened there okay. At the break here in this under-23s European competition final, it is England who will be thoroughly satisfied with their work. It's England 2, Sweden 0. So England will be pretty content with that for a first half in a major final. 2-0 up inside 9 minutes, a 5th goal in her last 6 under-23s games for Izzy Goodwin. And then from a corner by Chloe Sawi, it was headed in by Hannah Silcock, who had all of her teammates bundling on her in absolute delight. Sweden with their moments on the counter-attack, keeping England honest. But ultimately, it's the young Lionesses who will be happiest. Your thoughts on that one, Leanne Sanderson?
Yeah, I think Lydia Bedford will be delighted with how her team have gone about their business, Michael. It's a final. It's pressure. You know, every time you play for your country, it's pressure. I love the pressure. But I think the Lionesses, you know, going 2-0 up in the first 10 minutes, you can't ask for more than that. There's been a couple of moments in the back line where I think they need to stay switched on. Runnison, I think, has been fantastic for Sweden down this left-hand side. She hasn't given Lena Gunning-Williams any opportunity on the ball. And I think, you know, it's been a really good performance. They've been possessing the ball. Difficult temperatures, because you can see it's really, really hot under those types of conditions. But Lexi Potter, I think, has been exceptional. Ruby Mace, I think their movement in the midfield has caused a lot of problems to Sweden. As we mentioned, the pitch is really big. Sounds crazy, but dimension, you can see it, you know. So I do think in the second half, England can maybe keep their width a little bit more, and they'll get more joy. McLaughlin got into the game a little bit more in the end of the first half. Enderby was getting into the game a little bit more as well. But I think overall, Lionesses have been fantastic.
Let's take a look at the highlights of that first half then, where England got as fast a start as you could ask for, really. They were in front with just 3.5 minutes or so gone. A mistake from Sweden, but it comes from Chloe Sawi's pressure. And then Izzy Goodwin unleashes and does the rest after Sweden make the mistake of kind of not reacting to that first error.
Yeah, lovely pressure from Chloe Sawi. You could see Hannavik there gives away the ball in their build-up play for Sweden. Goodwin, in the form that she's in after scoring on Monday against the Netherlands, shoot on sight. I still am going to ask questions of the goalkeeper here. To be fair to it, it bounces just before, you know, it goes in the back of the net. But it's a lovely strike from Goodwin. And I think this really helped, you know, get the Lionesses going. And this is a lovely set piece from Chloe Sawi. I love this ball into the box. Silcock, what a header that is as well. I mean, the keeper, I think, thought it was going wide and kind of was trying to see it out. But it's a lovely finish from Silcock. Lovely ball into the box. I don't think we see this enough in world football now, just good balls into the box. Apart from Declan Rice, I feel like people don't deliver these types of balls. And Chloe Sawi has been exceptional in this first half again.
In all 4 corners that England had in the game on Monday, they led to an England head on the ball, and 2 of those a decent effort on target. It was almost a surprise England ended up not scoring from one, so they'll feel like they've got their dues for what's clearly been some quite hard work from Lydia Bedford's team in the training ground on set pieces. But Sweden absolutely had their moments on the counter-attack. This interception from Ranarsson against Gunning-Williams leading to almost a goal back.
Yeah, Ranarsson there does fantastically well. She's been excellent down this left-hand side. Also occupying the spaces so Lena Gunning-Williams doesn't get in behind. And they have had moments. England have to stay switched on because there have been a couple of balls in behind that Silcock's been caught the wrong side. So I think Lydia Bedford will be looking to kind of... They're probably showing clips at half-time of those types of things because you want things to be the best it can be. I mean, it's been a complete performance, but there's just been a few fragilities in the back line. They'll be looking to kind of, you know, make better in the second half. But overall, the Lionesses have been sublime.
So England 2-0 up at half-time and 45 minutes or so from lifting silverware. Can the young Lionesses see it through? We'll see you back here for the second half very shortly. At the break, it's England 2, Sweden 0. Welcome back to Murcia, the Enrique Roca Stadium. Lovely shot out the back of the town there towards the coast in the southeast of sunny Spain, not far from Cartagena. England looking to build on that 2-0 lead. The Lionesses ahead thanks to Izzy Goodwin and Hannah Silcock in front at half-time. Now seeking to turn that into silverware. England kicking from right to left as we look at things in this second half. Sweden attacking from left to right. Jan Andersson once more alongside. Sweden hoping to mount a comeback. No changes for either team at the break. Of course, Sweden had to make one before half-time when Özcan Akin came on for Hannavik, who picked up what looks to be a pretty bad knee injury.
Yeah, thoughts with Hannavik as well, and obviously, like, when you've got your family watching and those types of things, it's not a nice situation. So hopefully, you know, thoughts are with her 100%. And like I said, in these situations when your teammate gets injured like that, like, it's a difficult to overcome emotionally, because all you want to do is make sure your teammate's okay. So mentally, for the Swedish players, it'll be interesting to see how they come out in this second half.
Gunning-Williams loses it. See what difference Magnus Wickman might have managed to make at the break. The Swedish head coach, he's been very vocal in talking up how much of a fan he is of this tournament. Said that England are a really good team. We have to go and watch their semi-final against the Netherlands in detail, but we as a Swedish team can definitely challenge. It will be tough, but this group have had great training and good opportunities, and the fact that we don't know at the start of the week who we'll face in match 2, whether the final or the third place, and where we'll be playing, is fantastic, because it's similar to the senior level in a big serious tournament. It's fun that 12 teams are in place and that 4 of us are in the top positions. It'll be 2 very good and challenging matches. The outcome is important, but it's also about preparing these girls for a future in the senior team.
Yeah, I think I like this. Although, you know, it's classed as a friendly tournament, there's no friendlies in football. Do you know what I mean? You want to win every game you're in, but, like, you know, previously we only really had the Nordic Cup, which is what we used to go to every year. And obviously with the seniors, we used to have the Cyprus Cup and then the She Believes Cup. So, like, I'm a big fan and a big believer in highly competitive games in these types of circumstances.
England just looking to refine that passing rhythm that they had for good chunks of the first half. Potter just finds a pocket of space, was a little too quick for a marker, and he's quick to sharpen the tempo for England. Enderby, who didn't see a lot of it in the first half, trying to drift inside, has it taken off her by the substitute Akin. Throw-in one by Kato on her fellow number 4, Ruby Mace.
I really do think that's going to be key in this second half, because I think there were tendencies at times where England slowed the game down quite a bit. And I understand what you were saying, Michael, about, you know, with the temperatures and the conditions, sometimes it's okay. But I do think you need to maintain, you can't be stopping the ball dead, you know, and everybody's moving around. I think you just have to maintain the ball moving nice and quick and sharp.
The draw for this competition next season has been done. England are in Group B with Portugal, Norway, Italy and Belgium. And Group A is the other side of the draw, where you've got the likes of Scotland, the Netherlands and Sweden will find themselves in that. Slightly messy passage of play, but we'll come back for the initial foul.
I'm intrigued to see where this free kick's going to go, because there was about 3 or 4 fouls in this process. I think it'll be given for the original foul, probably from McLaughlin, because I thought the original one was actually a foul to Sweden, but then the referee tried to play the advantage, and it looks like the ref has given Sweden a free kick.
Coming slightly at a cost to seemingly the right ankle of Mikato. Kato has been called up to the Swedish seniors, but hasn't made her debut yet. Sweden's first set-piece chance of the entire game, really. Matilda Nildin looking to get a good ball in, the Spurs winger. Nildin's cross, well, it's overhit. I don't think she was trying to shoot or score there, but it is ultimately Sweden's second shot on target of the game. Keating backpedaling, was comfortable in the end.
Comfortable in the end, but I think it was good from Chiara Keating because those ones are quite difficult. Neildon definitely wasn't going for goal, but Chiara Keating's positioning was good, which allowed her to kind of not have the ball go over her head.
Lovely move this from England. Could it be 3-0? Ball across is begging for a finish. Enderby was there, waiting to put it in. Scrambled away in the nick of time by Akin.
Yeah, that was really good play from Denton down that right-hand side. I think it's the first time we've really seen England get to the byline and try for the cutback, and it was almost perfect. Really, really good play.
Gunning-Williams. Stops and starts and goes again, but lost that duel out to Leidhammer. Sweden win the midfield battle. Budin hustled off it by McLaughlin. Proper game of hot potato in there because it's then a foul from Goldie on Budin. Sweden want to play quick, but have given it away a bit needlessly.
Yeah, I think the first 6 minutes of this second half, Michael, has been quite scrappy, hasn't it? It's been a very stop-start. This is the situation here with Denton down this right-hand side. Does so well. You can see what she was trying to do. Good defending in the end. She was trying to pick out Enderby, and this is the one, Chiara Keating. Yes, it was comfortable in the end, but there's so many times we see those catch goalkeepers off guard. So good positioning from her.
Sweden on the high press. Sawi. Slaloms inside. Potter has her pocket picked. Leidhammer. Neildin just lost her footing as she shot. A thump of the ground in frustration, and nothing for Keating to be concerned by.
Yeah, you can see what Neildin was trying to do there. I mean, it's definitely better pressure in this second half. They're pressing a lot higher than they were in the first. You see Lexi Potter trying to recover there, as was Denton. Went over in the end, but I think, you know, Sweden definitely have started to press a lot higher in this second half than they did in the first.
Matilda Neildin, younger sister of Amanda, both at Spurs after Matilda signed for Tottenham in January of this year from BK Häcken. Was part of the AIK side that was promoted through to the top flight. That was a season a couple of years back that really caught the attention. A good example of a young player that benefited a lot more by being a star player for a team getting promoted from the second division than being a squad player for a side in the top flight.
I think since Martin Ho's got to Tottenham, I think he's doing a really good job at having these young players, giving them minutes. You know, there's players like Leonard Gunning-Williams just getting a lot more game time. Younger players being able to get that opportunity, especially in the WSL, in those competitive games.
Sawi. Manages to roll away so nicely. What a run this is from Chloe Sawi. What's at the end of it? Just as she might have been thinking of either a shot across the keeper or setting someone else up. It's taken off her in the nick of time, but that was delightful from Chloe Sawi.
Beautiful play from Chloe Sawi from this left-hand side. And this is why she's so dangerous. You can see she used to play in that more advanced role when she was younger because she's so comfortable on the ball, dropping the shoulder, turning. And it was interesting because I was expecting one of the Swedish players to dangle a leg and then bring her down for a penalty. So they did quite well there, the discipline from Sweden to not dangle a leg, but fantastic again from Chloe Sawi.
Yeah, easy to see why she's seen by some, including, I think, both of us on air here, is certainly at the very least a significant chunk in the pie of the solution to England's fullback problem. Someone that's already getting Champions League and WSL minutes. And you referred to that higher position. It was only about 18 months or so that she finally fully settled on being a left back. So she's actually, before that, more often been used as a left winger or even a number 10. Sweden looking for something on the break. Tied it up easily enough.
I mean, sometimes positionally for England, you can find a different position that works for you better. I mean, Alex Scott used to play in the centre-forward role and then became a right-back. You know, these things do happen.
Gunning-Williams does get it across. It almost found Goodwin. It gets to McLaughlin. Is there a third here for England? Potter. There's plenty of blue and yellow shirts for company. Gunning-Williams, one-on-one against Ranasson, has got past her. It's Gunning-Williams, and it's in. 3-0 England. Olivia McLaughlin. Inside the opening 10 minutes of the second half. And England have complete control of this final.
Love that from McLaughlin, and this is what I was talking about moments before that. Denton did get down that end line, did a lovely cutback, and we hadn't really seen the Lionesses do that in the first half. Probably the second time in the entire game we've seen that. Really good play down on that right-hand side, lovely pullback, and McLaughlin is in a great space, great position, exactly where you want her to be, to slot it in the back of the net. Because in the first half, I felt like McLaughlin was having to drop quite deep in certain moments. This is unbelievable play down this right-hand side from Gunning-Williams. She's so good at that, providing the assists. Lexi Potter gets things going initially. Nice patient play from Denton out to Lena Gunning-Williams. And I said in the first half, magic happens when the ball is at her feet. Picks out McLaughlin. Good finish. Well done, Lionesses. 3-0.
And credit to McLaughlin for the presence of mind to realise she had to take that first time. Had no real other option, but there was enough pace on it from Gunning-Williams that she could just divert it into that far corner. Into the side today, the one change from Monday. She has more than repaid the faith that Lydia Bedford shown in her by giving her that start.
Do you know what makes it an even better finish as well? It's because she was off balance and she was caught off guard. It was almost like she lost her footing just at the final part.
Neil Din tries her luck, just drifts wide from the boot of Matilda Neil Din.
It always amazes me when goalkeepers, I know it's their job to be aware of where they are on the pitch, right? But Chiara Keating, to me, this looked closer than what it was. And Chiara Keating had it covered, you know, fantastically well. You see, look, never really fazed by it. Whereas I'm looking at that thinking that looked like it was going to potentially hit the post.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of our angle up here, high in the main stand. Also hit with the outside of the right boot, I guess, so just drifting away on the angle.
It's an interesting time for Chiara Keating as well. This is a player that I really like. She's a brilliant goalkeeper, but isn't really starting right now for Man City. Yamashita, obviously back from the Asia Cup, is their #1 goalkeeper, and I do believe that if Chiara Keating is playing, she would be in that senior team. She's been there, she was part of the European Championship squad, made her debut for the Lionesses not that long ago, but because she's not playing a lot for her senior team, ultimately she finds herself in this team, which is still obviously a good standard, but once you get in the seniors, you want to stay there.
Foul on Mace. Keating has 43 WSL career appearances, but what's really fascinating with her is, unlike most of the players in this squad, she's actually done that almost the reverse way to a lot of these others. Change coming for England. Lexi Potter takes her leave. And Lena Gunning-Williams does as well. Williams, who not long ago set up the third goal. So double sub for Lydia Bedford. Don't expect it will be a change of shape necessarily. Lloyd Smith will also offer a direct threat down that right side. Layla Harvett came on in the win on Monday, as did Lloyd Smith.
Yeah, we've seen often at times Lexi Lloyd-Smith coming in for Goodwin and going in that #9 role. I like her out wide. I think she'll occupy those spaces, getting up and down. It was a shame because I thought Lena Gunning-Williams was finally coming into the game, getting more joy, but getting that assist again, she looked dangerous in this second half. Took her a little while to get going and for her teammates to find her in this game. But 3-0 after 60 minutes, you can't ask for much more than that from this Lionesses team. I think Lexi Potter was exceptional as well, did her job fantastically well. Ruby Mace, there's been some real standout performances from this England side today.
Enderby, so dangerous in direct situations like this. Enderby to strike. Didn't quite catch it cleanly by her very high standards, but that is trademark Mia Enderby, starting off on that left-hand side, shimmying in onto that preferred right boot. She is having the best WSL season of her career with Liverpool, so confidence will be high. First touches since coming on for Lloyd Smith, who puts it into Goodwin. First time finish whipped over the bar, but Goodwin rightly appreciative of the excellent service.
Yeah, these wingers for the Lionesses really provide a service for the number 9. I liked what Goodwin does here because she takes it quite early, almost stabs at it. It's a difficult technique when you're past the front post as well. Lovely little effort from Goodwin in that moment. Lovely ball in.
It actually reminds me of a story about Izzy Goodwin's finishing that I know really helped her have an excellent season in the Championship with Sheffield United, and then that superb season with London City Lionesses as they came up last season. It's a drill that she basically stole off Ellen White used to do it, where you essentially get coaches to throw you balls at all sorts of angles, and the only rule is you have to take it first time, and you have 2 or 3 coaches, one out right, one out left, and one sometimes actually behind the goal, and they basically just hurl the ball at you either off the feet, off the hands, and you've just got to find a way to get a strike off on target. I know it's helped Goodwin's finishing a lot as Sweden try and get one back. Haven't had a lot to shout about going forward. Akin kind of got caught in 2 minds as to what to do there, Nessa and Akin, and as it is, it's an England goal kick.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying about the centre forwards, it's like we used to call it unorthodox finishing, where you just finish it as soon as the ball, however it bounces. And, you know, it's similar for the goalkeepers when they do all those rebound stuff, you know, to have quick reactions in games. And it does make a difference because at the end of the day, my dad always used to say a goal's a goal. Do you know what I mean? We love goals that look pretty, but if it comes off your shin, if it comes off your knee, who cares? It's a goal and they all count the same. So, yeah, I think you can see Goodwin has definitely stepped up her game since coming into the WSL as well. It's a difficult league to play in, especially making that step up from the Championship. She'd probably like a few more goals, the London City Lionesses, but she's doing really well on the international level as well.
Lexi Lloyd-Smith is clattered late by Ranarsson, who picks up the first booking of the game.
Brilliant play from Lexi Lloyd-Smith, and I think this is a perfect example. Ranarsson's been excellent in this game, but it's difficult. She's been chasing Lena Gunning-Williams this entire game. She's gone off now. Then you've got another player in Lexi Lloyd-Smith, nice and direct. I love it when wingers just get the ball. When you take it to that fullback, there's only one thing they can do, either bring you down or let you go, and that's really good play from Lexi Lloyd-Smith.
Yeah, not what you want when you've spent more than an hour charging up and down that flank in the Spanish heat. That is quite different to the cold Swedish winter. And then there's Lexi Lloyd-Smith charging at you. And Sawi has been excellent from dead ball deliveries. She's already set 1 goal up today. And from Sawi, it wasn't actually her best in truth. It didn't beat the first defender by her high standards. She'll be a touch disappointed, but England recycle.
Yeah, these things happen. She just needs to overhit that just a little bit in those moments.
Lloyd-Smith up against Ranarsson, got the better of her once more. Lexi Lloyd-Smith, who, if England win this tournament, has certainly played her part. She scored the goal in the away win against France at the prestigious Clairefontaine Academy in March that sealed England's semi-final spot as group winners. Had they lost that game, they may well have missed out on the semi-finals altogether, depending on other results. Bergström tries to help one in behind. Keating's comfortable. Mentioned it just before England's subs, but the reason Keating's appearance trajectory is unusual is because most of these players who might have made almost 50 senior league appearances, most of those games will be weighted in the last 18 months to 2 years, depending on whether they're English or Swedish with their seasons on calendar years, whereas Chiara Keating played a lot of those 43 WSL games back 3 or 4 seasons ago now, and then since the presence of Yamashita has found it harder to break in. Sawi gets past 1, gets past 2, advantage England. Enderby goes crossfield and the referee brings it back. That's fantastic refereeing, and it's fantastic work from Chloe Sawi.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, because often people are quite critical of referees, and sometimes rightfully so, but I think this is really good refereeing. Again, Chloe Sawi does really well there. It's a foul all day long. Referee tries to play the advantage, and then Enderby just underhits her pass and the ref calls it back. I think it's really good for the referee to do that.
It looks like Mace will take this one rather than Sawi. I can only think that's because England have decided they prefer an in-swinging option. That classic angle where it's just drifting towards goal. You want to get it right between pretty much the 6-yard box and the 18-yard box, around the penalty spot. And from Mace. Took a little flick on the way through, so a first corner of the second half for England.
That was quite strange, really, because Chloe Sari actually came out to his left-hand side, and I thought, wow, she's keeping quite wide. Is she going to play it short? But they've got a corner. Looks like Chloe Sari's about to go out and take it. Enderby's also creeping out there as well. And we know how good England can be on set pieces. Is the one. It was good defending from Sweden. It's a lovely little back flip because, you know, if she doesn't do that, got Goldie there, you've got Goodwin creeping to put it in the back of the net.
Sweden know that in this tournament next season, after the draw is done, they've got Scotland, Germany, France and the Netherlands in their group. Sawi's corner, first of the second half, begging for a finish, and it was an England player who got there first. England once again offering a real threat on the set piece. Lovely touch from Lloyd Smith just to keep things fast. Enderby back. Sawi can deliver once more. Didn't quite get that one right. It almost ran for Goodwin, though.
Yeah, Lexi Lloyd-Smith, sorry, Michael, has been really good since she's come into this game. It's exactly what you want from your wide players, getting on the ball actively, causing problems.
Yeah, she was someone who played a part, Lexi Lloyd-Smith, in Southampton's rise through the divisions. Then moved to Bristol City, became one of their key players. Made a debut against Germany more than 2 years ago and has been a pretty regular player in the under-23s ever since.
It isn't always easy as well coming on, especially at international level, because the tempo of the game, the misconception is that, you know, you're going to come into the game and play light. So it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes your legs are not there, but she's been excellent coming into this game.
Enderby seems to have switched flanks in the last few moments. More commonly seen out on that left. Just over a quarter of this one left. England will feel like they've got Sweden exactly where they want them, but the beauty of live sport is the unpredictability. That being said, how these young Lionesses would not particularly mind a relatively predictable last quarter of this one to see it through.
I mean, I think Sweden have been quite underwhelming. I think you can't fault their endeavour in the first half. A couple of opportunities. I felt like, you know, Silcock has been really good in this second half, not getting caught in behind. Just as I say that, but good positioning from her and Chiara Keating. And I think that third goal has really kind of nullified Sweden, really. I don't think they've really turned up today, Sweden. It's been quite disappointing from them. The Lionesses have been exceptional, we know that. But I think first half, Sweden were quite negative, but maybe based upon the fact, you know, they're 2-0 down after 10 minutes. So, you know, game plan-wise, tactics at that moment in time don't necessarily go out the window, but to a certain degree, you're on the back foot.
We've definitely also seen, though, England's analysis team have quite clearly earned their keep, because they really worked on the fact that there was going to be an element of direct balls in behind, looking for the pace and the poacher's threat of Maya Boudin with Vilma Leidhammer to play off her. And apart from one scare with that in the first half, on the whole, that England backline and then Chiara Keating on what is a big pitch where that is quite a legitimate tactic to think about doing, have got their spacing exactly right, such that actually that tactic for Sweden hasn't really worked and has often given the ball away cheaply. England chasing a four from McLaughlin's got through. It's McLaughlin for four. Puts it over. What a chance that was for her second. England could have had more than one hand on the trophy there. And Olivia McLaughlin knows it.
Yeah, you can see the disappointment in her face. Lexi Lloyd-Smith does really well there. McLaughlin, to be fair to her, did really well to run through it because she made a ball that wasn't in her favour of her own. But in the end, she'll be really disappointed with that finish because, you know, it's not easy when you're in front of goal, but if you have premeditation of what you're going to do in that moment, she just leans back and it goes over.
All sorts of changes coming here for England. It's Jess Simpson, Jessie Gale, and Eleanor Klinger. Klinger, who started on Monday. They will come on, but they will have to wait a moment to come on because we've got a drinks break. And if you're hearing me saying that, no, you're not watching the cricket, you're watching the football. but we're in Spain and it's pretty hot, so it makes complete sense. Interesting to see who these three come on for, though, Leanne.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Jess Simpson got that fantastic assist against the Netherlands. We did that game way back when. And I think, you know, at this moment in time, they're 3-0 up, so we give Lydia Bedford an opportunity to see players, because there is still pressure in this game.
Change has been confirmed there, so it's Izzy Goodwin making way, and Mia Enderby as well.
Yeah, as I was saying, you know, in these types of games, Michael, there's a lot of pressure. You're still playing for England, although it's 3. You'd rather come into a game when it's, you know, you're 3-0 up, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of players that want to stake the claim for starting. And I love the fact that Lydia Bedford went strong in this game, and they're taking this competition and this final seriously.
Worth saying as well, it does mean that England have made all 5 of their changes. So if England were to have an injury now, they would be down to 10 for the rest of this contest.
Yeah, it looks like Chloe Sawi's gone off as well. Again, like, really staking her claim for another player of the match performance, 100%. I think there's been some real standouts for the Lionesses today. Ruby Mace, I think, has been brilliant. Captained the team today, led by example. Lexi Potter, I thought, was really good. There's been a lot of individuals that have really turned up today. You can see how focused they've been. There's only been a couple of blips in the first half where backline switched off, but these things happen. You know, it's international football. You can't have a complete performance the entirety of the 90 minutes. But I think, you know, really professional performance. Even the assistant referees come over for a hydration break, look.
Well, the only problem with doing that, of course, when you're the assistant referee is you've then got to go all the way back.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think on balance, if you get the right mix of electrolytes and fluids, it's probably still just about worth it. Back underway then. We will have a decent amount of stoppage time at the end of this one to account for the drinks break and the subs. Can Sweden pull off an unlikely comeback, or can England see it home?
Yeah, I think England have controlled the tempo from the beginning of the game. You know, you can see they set their stall out. They were high pressing. Sweden didn't really come out of the dressing room in the first half, didn't get out the blocks quick enough. And England were quite ruthless in the first 10 minutes. And I think the game was kind of done there. Obviously doesn't help. Hannah Vick going off with that injury. Faults are with her 100%. And that can kind of stifle the team a little bit as well. But yeah, Sweden haven't really caused many problems, but you've got to give credit to England and their midfield, because that's where the games are won and lost, and I think England have got the better of them in this matchup today.
A couple of changes confirmed for Sweden as well. Maya Budin and Vilma Leidhammer have made room, with Sweden chasing the game, and a pretty near instant impact from Lisa Bjork, whose big run there has helped get Sweden their first corner of this second half. Saga Svedman in shot there is also on.
I mean, arguably for Sweden, Bodine and Leidhammer were those 2 players that, if something was going to happen, it'd probably come through them. But I think England nullified Leidhammer very well centrally. Ruby Mace, Lexi Potter did a really good job on her.
Quadruple change from Sweden. And they did this in the semi-final on Monday as well. So not too surprising to see it repeated. It's a poor corner, just when Sweden needed something. Evelina Dulan and Elsa Palganda are also on, in place of Matilda Janssen, who scored the winner on her debut on Monday. And Matilda Niodin has come off as well. Just wonder, looking at the positions of the players coming on, whether Sweden have gone to a version of a 4-2-4 here in desperation. Remains to be seen quite in whether it is necessarily that switch, but it would make sense given that they've got to force the issue.
Yeah, I've seen Evelina Dulian play a lot in America for the Houston Dash. Hasn't really started a lot of games for them this season. A lot of appearances off the bench, but she's really threatening. I'm quite surprised she doesn't start for this Sweden under-23 team, because she's a threat every single time she picks up the ball. Similar to Lexi Lloyd-Smith and Lena Gunning-Williams, very direct when she's picking up the ball, and it's quite good in front of goal as well.
Sweden with not much to lose at this stage, might as well throw everything at England. It was a quadruple change that really changed the game for them against Norway on Monday. They were defending deep and absorbing a lot of pressure, but made a quadruple change with 20 minutes to go and went on to win it 1-0 and had much the better of the last 20 as Lloyd Smith almost snuck through there.
I mean, this is the thing that's quite disappointing me with Sweden. I think they've just given away the ball far too easy in their build-up play. It's how the first goal came about from Goodwin, when Hanovic gave away the ball centrally in their build-up play. And I think that's one thing I think Sweden will be really disappointed with, how easily they've gifted the ball to England at times. We know the temperatures are hot, we know the conditions are hot, but at the same time, you can't make excuses when you're giving away the ball unnecessarily in certain areas.
Chance for England to get a fourth. Ruby Mace to deliver. Mace with the double bluff. Now it does come into the box, and it's a great ball from Jess Simpson that was seeking a finish, and McLaughlin got there first but couldn't quite provide it.
Jess Simpson is so good at delivering that ball. So good with the left foot. McLaughlin again was in really good position. I think she'll be disappointed to miss the couple of opportunities she's had. We know she's on the score sheet, but I think her positioning in the second half has been so much better. In the first half, I felt like McLaughlin was dropping so deep, at times almost like the central defensive midfield role. In the second half, she's exactly where you'd want your number 10, in those areas. Yes, she hasn't put the ball in the back of the net. Those two opportunities, she's put it in there once. But I do think that's where you want your number 10, occupying those spaces where it can really hurt. Look at this ball. I mean, that is a dream. They're all lining up as well. Goldie was actually on the back post as well. That probably could have given her a shout.
Yeah, we were speaking earlier on about Sawi and England's fullback problem. Well, Jessica Simpson is certainly putting in her audition as Lucy Bronze's understudy at right back. Simpson is building quite a CV for herself. She's already scored 6 goals for Southampton in WSL2 this season. She's notorious for her free kick. She scored one of those for the under-23s against the USA as well in December last year. And has got plenty of assists as well. She's another demonstration of a player who, by playing in the second tier, is getting a lot more regular, competitive, meaningful minutes than a lot of her peers who might have a badge of a club that are in the top flight, but are often not playing anywhere near as much as they might like to be playing.
Yeah, I think the loan spells that a lot of these players have gone on have really, you know, gone well for them. But I do think at some point, I really hope that people start to play the young players a little bit more, a little bit like Sonia Bonpastore is doing at Chelsea, Chloe Sawi, Lexi Potter. You know, at times, I feel like sometimes clubs go elsewhere to find players instead of looking from internal and not bringing in the youth. So hopefully that will continue. But I'm all for players going out on loan and getting minutes.
Chance for Sweden on the break. Maybe to give England a late scare. Lovely pass. And a lovely finish that thuds off the bar. So close to giving England something to think about. Johanna Reinmark, who's not been on the pitch long at all.
Yeah, this was a great save from Kiara Keaton. I'm pretty sure she gets a hand to this. It's difficult to see from that camera angle, but it's a lovely save because they're wide open.
Reinmark again. Got there first. Dribbles just wide.
Yeah, Reinmark's caused some problems since coming into this game, for sure. You know, you can see the movement there. England just need to take it. And these things do happen. I mean, when you make the amount of substitutions that both teams have made, especially England, it will become a little bit disjointed. But they need to maintain the tempo. Yes, they're 3-0 up, but don't switch off and don't concede. If they can get out of here, Michael, with no goals conceded in a final, I know the defenders will be beaming with joy about that.
Particularly when you think about the history for England in the tournament this season. They had that 5-0 loss against Germany, but since then it's been really defensively tight. A 1-1 home draw against Portugal in Northampton, where Freya Godfrey was player of the match. A 1-0 home win against Norway in Manchester last November. A 1-0 win away against France in March, and then you're starting to sense the pattern at this point, folks. A 1-0 win against the Netherlands on Monday, so clean sheets coming nice and regularly for this England under-23s team. It's won by Akin.
And you can see progression as well. You can see they've been working on their set pieces. We did that Netherlands game, that friendly, where they conceded late on. You can see the disappointment from the players. It almost felt like a loss because those are the standards that they've set themselves. And I think it's quite remarkable to see. You mentioned the technical staff before, but they've definitely made adjustments, and you can see how much they've worked on their set pieces as well, because I think England have taken their set pieces on the attack. We haven't really seen them having to defend set pieces today because Sweden haven't really possessed any type of threat in those areas, but I think England have looked really good and controlled the tempo, which I think will be delight to Lydia Bedford.
Well, if they see this out, since that 5-0 thumping at the hands of Germany, it'll be 1 goal conceded in 5 competitive games, which goes back to that old adage. As much as people often get caught up talking about your star attacking players that can win you trophies and tournaments, it's keeping the door firmly bolted at the back that is the best solution, because as England has shown in their run to this final, you then only need 1 goal. Game's just got a little bit bitty since the subs have come on in the last 10 minutes or so. A lot of players who haven't been out there very long trying to get themselves into the game. Game's lost a little bit of rhythm, I guess you might say.
Yeah, and I think that's expected. You know, England have made all 5 substitutions. Players are coming in trying to make their mark, stamp down their authority on the game. I think Lexi Lloyd-Smith did a good job when she came in. But they just need to see out this game in a professional way, as they have done for the first 81 minutes.
Goldie loses it. Chance to run for Svedman. Goldie recovered tidily enough.
Yeah, you could see what she was trying to do there. Did a nice little step over to keep the ball in play, then couldn't quite get onto the secondary ball.
Keating is down. Both teams will take a chance just to get a few more fluids on board. England looking for a bit of revenge, and they're not far from it now from their last meeting with Sweden, a 2-1 home loss at Doncaster in December 2024. I wasn't there that night, but I think I can tell you with decent authority that Doncaster in December was marginally colder than here. Lucia Kendall on target that night, and just one of many demonstrations of the fact that you are watching a future pathway here for England, no doubt, when you look back at the names, even in the last 2 seasons that have played for England at this level. Kendall, Katie Reid, Michelle Adjemang, Aggie Beaver-Jones, Laura Blinkiller-Brown, Grace Clinton, Missy Bo-Kearns, Jess Naz, Ruby Mace. All of those have gone on to be either capped by the Lionesses or at the very least in a Lionesses squad.
I mean, you look at Lucia Kendall starting in arguably England's probably most important game in a long time against Spain the other night, and did fantastically well. So I also like the fact that England haven't chosen any players over age, you know, because I think, you know, you look at every country has different preferences. You look at Sweden, you know, their goalkeeper's 25, but I like the fact that they have, you know, all their players that are underage. There's that pathway, and I think seeing is believing.
Lisa Bjork comes on for Mika Tos, so Sweden have made all 5 of their changes, so much like England, if they were to have an injury now, they'd be down to 10. Bjork, who has recently moved to AIK from Linköping. She used to be a winger, has been converted into number 10 in more recent times, described by a well-placed Swedish football source to me as someone with great technique, a fast finisher who can shoot well across both feet. Well, if she can come on and get one back here, might just give England some late nerves. Sweden looking to create. Leidhammer, strike from distance, and it was Bjork who took it. But again, it's efforts from the kind of distance where England won't necessarily mind that too much. The kind of area where if Lisa Bjork puts that in the top corner, England probably turn around and say, fair play, that's pretty stunning.
Yeah, and I think they're getting into good areas for sure, but I just think the quality's just letting them down, you know. Bjork hits it there, goes over, these things do happen, but I think, you know, ultimately, I think Sweden haven't had enough quality to really test the Lionesses today.
Keating goes direct, one in midfield by Leidhammer. When Sweden have started to build some fluency in attack, Vilma Leidhammer's tended to be a key player in that. But I make it just 2 shots on target, ultimately, for Chiara Keating to deal with, and both strikes that, for a keeper of her quality, you'd expect her, as she did, to catch and hold them.
I mean, I think ultimately for Sweden, I think there have been some players that have stood out for me. Runarsson has been excellent in this game, I think, up and down, nullified Lena Gunning-Williams apart from when she got her assist. And I think she's been everywhere. She's only picked up that booking since Lexi Lloyd-Smith came into the game, but I think she's been the standout for Sweden for me.
England want their 4th, and they might have had their 4th. Scooped over the bar from close range. Did have a defender in front of her, distracting Eleanor Klinger. Great link up down the right between Lloyd-Smith and Denton. So close.
Yeah, lovely play from Lloyd-Smith again, providing that service. And to be fair to Klinger, it was almost like she went in too early. You could see she was frustrated. I understand. People might think, oh, you know, it's 4 or 5 yards out, but it wasn't an easy finish. The board bounced. She'd already gone to ground before the board come in. If she can delay her run a little bit more, maybe she might have been able to put it in the back of the net.
Well, Nezrin Akin was not doing enough for it to be called a penalty, no doubt, but was just leaning on Klinger enough in the physical battle to put her off. Eleanor Klinger, who's probably one of the names less known to many of you watching, unless you're a particular follower of football in the US, because she played for the USA national team in younger age groups, born in London, but grew up in Ohio, and she's currently playing at Stanford University in California. Made her under-23s debut just a month ago, hitting the post on debut. Wouldn't be too surprised if she, like a lot of players that go and study and play in the US, tends to end up, once that study is complete, coming back to England and ending up with a WSL club who'd be lucky to have her, as Klinger runs out of room that time.
I mean, she goes to one of the best colleges, universities in America that comes from a massive pedigree. You know, Ali Riley, Kristen Press went to that university. So, and it's also great to see, you know, the England scouts, as we've seen with Erica Meg Parkinson, like actually scouting and finding players, you know, that people might not have even thought of before.
Well, I know with Erica Meg Parkinson, she had a choice of 3 potential national teams, and the primary reason why she's ended up playing for England is that, as ridiculous as it sounds, England were the first to ask. England were the first to scout her and try and get her into their national team setup, and all the better for it. Fight for the ball in the corner. Akin goes down. England using a bit of the dark arts, albeit at 3-0 up. Not necessarily sure that they need to, but it's never a skill that's the worst thing to sometimes get a little bit of practice of wrestling in the corner.
Yeah, and I think it's all about game management. I mean, they are 3-0 up, but these are the types of moments where, you know, seeing out a game, 3 minutes to go plus stoppage time. I think it's been a really professional performance. Yes, some of the substitutions within the game have made it disjointed, not personnel-wise, but just it will just ebb and flow when you make those types of subs, because it can disrupt the tempo a little bit. But I think overall England have looked far superior to Sweden, and I think Lydia Bedford will be delighted in her first 2 games, you know, to not concede and to get another win. Really professional.
And ultimately, this is a competition, while it isn't a Euros as such, it is one that is constructed of the 12 best teams in Europe, and it is a trophy that is there to be fought for, that England are mere moments from confirming to go and win. So it's sort of almost betwixt and between winning a friendly and winning a Euros, but don't underestimate the power of getting silverware, what it means to those young players. As Klinger's in there fighting for it.
But it's almost like a rehearsal, a European rehearsal. You know, you're playing against top opposition, competitive, the pressure is there, you're playing for your country, and the opportunity to get your hands on a bit of silverware. I think that's where England have taken their game to another level, on the senior level and at the younger age groups as well. We're no longer there just to make up the numbers. People see us as a serious nation.
Well, it's interesting you say that, right? So as we see Klinger win the free kick, you know, the Nordic Cup, England entered that 5 times, 10-team competition of the best nations in Europe, not totally dissimilar to this, and England never got in the final. They never finished better than 3rd. So you have to put the wider historical context into what we're watching, as Simpson's cross is dealt with for now. The Manchester United fullback born and raised in Lancashire, but for now making her name on the south coast with Southampton, causing more issues. Here's Mace. Wanted that wide option, and Denton eventually arrives, but arrives a bit late for it. Lloyd Smith had come inside. It's Lloyd Smith. Might fancy it here. Slightly too much on the touch through. Akin can clear.
Lovely ball mastery from Lexi Lloyd-Smith. I mean, to be fair to Sweden, I think one thing they have done well is I think they've defended the box really well. You know, there's often opportunities where they could dangle a leg, give away a foul, give away a penalty. And I think, you know, they've literally, possession-wise, they've just not had the ball at all. It's been all England, and it's tiring. When you're a team that's going up against a team that has the ball all the time and you're just chasing shadows, it is really difficult. So even though it's 3-0, I do want to give Sweden back line a lot of credit, because the midfield haven't maintained possession of the ball, the front line haven't maintained possession of the ball, and it's easy to point fingers at the back line and the goalkeeper, but I think they've done the best they could.
We've only got the eye test when it comes to ball possession, but I think even the most passionate, patriotic Swede at home would agree that Sweden can't have had more than 40% of it max across the contest, and when they have, it's rarely been as purposeful as they might like. It is one thing playing on the break, but you've got to offer a consistent threat on that counter-attack, and that's one thing that Magnus Wickman will definitely be a bit disappointed by. Minimum 4 minutes added on here, as England try and see this out. Would be a significant achievement for these young Lionesses. Looking back at the history of this under-23s team, at times it's been under-21s or under-20s, depending on how you want to put it, but when you go back to Liz Deegan in the late 80s, early 90s, Brent Hills in almost a decade in the noughties, Marianne Spacey for 5 years, Mo Marley for 5 years, and then Emma Coates in the last couple. It's actually fairly few examples of England going and winning tournaments like this. And so don't underestimate what this will mean to both Lydia Bedford, but also these players who've been on the journey right across this season, and what kind of confidence it gives them. We talk a lot in various sports at various age groups about a shirt hanging heavy. It's something Leanne Sanderson alongside me's already alluded to today. Well, days like this can help the shirt hang a little bit lighter and a little bit more joyfully, and that counts for a lot going forward. Definitely,
and I think there's been a lot of individuals during this competition and tournament that have been real standouts, you know, getting minutes in the bank. You can train all you want, but there's nothing like playing at international level. It's so intense. Even when it looks like England have been in cruise control, they still have to go out there and put on a performance. And, you know, and I think something else that I think is a game changer is the fact that I mentioned before about everybody, you know, being underage to perform. The under-23s, when I was playing, used to also be used as a place where players were coming back from injury. So someone could be 27, 28 being picked for the team. Whereas if you're 27, 28 and you're getting picked for the under-23s, you're probably not going to play for the seniors at that point. No disrespect, but that's the reality. And I think the players knew that as well. So I think they've got a lot of young, talented players that, you know, the world is their oyster. They just got to keep their head down. You know, you don't want to put too much pressure on these young players because there's already enough. But I do think there's a lot of young players that will really make it to the senior side and be able to step up.
A minute or so left for England. We're not far from the coast on Cartagena, and I've been reliably informed, and I've been to that part of the world before actually, but it's not a bad place for an evening out to celebrate. And with an early kickoff, England will have plenty of time to do so, and they've earned the right. Albeit the way things work, they may also be getting a charter flight back to London, such is the reality of things.
I think the latter of what you said is probably the reality, but like I said, I think I like early kickoffs. Maybe not this early as a player, because you're thinking, what do I eat for breakfast? You know, you're getting in your carbs before the game. But I used to feel like when we used to have like late kickoffs, you often just waiting around all day thinking, I want the game to come, I want the game to come. I couldn't think of anything better than waking up and being able to represent your country.
Into overtime here in Murcia. A matter of when rather than if for the young Lionesses. Mason, 2 minds whether to put it in the box for a fourth or go to the corner. Mace goes short. Simpson. Klinger can't quite get there. England have done it. Under-23s, European competition champions. The 12 best from around Europe started at the beginning of this season, all chasing the trophy. But it's England who have put their name on it and have comfortably beaten Sweden in the final. Izzy Goodwin and Hannah Silcock early on, and then Olivia McLaughlin, 10 minutes into the second half, put the icing on the cake. Sweden had just 2 shots on target. England were comfortable. It is remarkable to think that they lost their first game in the group stage, 5-0 against Germany. But since then, the Lionesses have conceded just 1 goal in 5 games. And this week in Spain, they've beaten both the Netherlands and Sweden by 1-0 to take the trophy, and deservedly so. It finishes here in Murcia. England under-21s 3, Sweden under-23s 0. And few could argue, Leanne Sanderson, that England are not worthy of that success.
Yeah, fantastic performance from them. Congratulations, you can see what it means. Already at the final whistle, they're jumping up and down. They'll be quick to also, you know, commiserate the Sweden players. But this is what it's all about, Michael. Like, you sacrifice, I call it choices, playing for your country, because it's the biggest honour. But you don't often get to win silverware that often, you know, when you play for your country. So these are the moments that you live for. Winning a competition, highly competitive as well, to go win 3-0, to not concede. Brilliant result. And I think from minute 1, England were focused. You know, it does help scoring 2 early on, but fantastic performance from them. Real standouts, you know, Ruby Mace I thought was excellent. Lexi Potter I thought was brilliant. Chloe Sari, doesn't need me to say her name anymore. Unbelievable. But overall, I think collectively, England were brilliant.
And even more extraordinary when you think of how the campaign started. To lose 5-0 against Germany back in October 2025, but since then, a 1-1 draw at home against Portugal, and after that, it has been 4 1-0 wins in a row. 1-0 at home against Norway in Manchester in November, 1-0 away against France in March to secure the semi-final spot, a 1-0 win against the Netherlands on Monday, and then today, for the second time this week, it was Izzy Goodwin with the opening goal, but England actually went and got a second and got a third. Hannah Silcock's header, and then this was the third. 10 minutes into the second half, Olivia McLaughlin, and that was a bit of a sucker punch for any Swedish hopes of getting one back and making it nervy. Yeah,
and I thought Lena Gunning-Williams had a real bright start to the second half. She came off after around 60 minutes. Lexi Lloyd-Smith came on and did fantastically well as well. But I thought England did so well in the second half, because it's always difficult, you know, that scoreline of 2-0, taking it in at half-time, and then, you know, Enderby had a couple of opportunities. She'll be disappointed because she's come in on that right foot. We know how good she can be in these moments, but these things happen. You know, I thought she was excellent. I thought individually England were really good. And again, you know, Goodwin getting on the score sheet, McLaughlin. And in the second half, they made some tactical changes, which I thought worked really well. Nice and direct down the right-hand side. And the wingers for England are there to provide a service, and I like that.
Yeah, it's interesting because in an era where for a long while now, both in women's and men's football, inverted wingers has become the thing, we're definitely seeing a bit of a sort of swinging of the pendulum back in the other direction, where, yes, you've got a player like Amir Enderby, but you've also got players like Ellen Gunning-Williams who play on the side of their preferred foot and can get right round that outside. And we saw that with Gunning-Williams with the third goal, and as we're seeing here from McLaughlin and that chance before from Goodwin, England could have had even more than the 3 they got.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, they'll feel quite, McLaughlin will feel quite disappointed there to not put it in the back of the net. Got herself into really good positions. That was another really good ball in from Simpson from his left-hand side. She's got a wand of her left foot, putting that delivery, and again, McLaughlin getting into those areas. And like I said, the second half, McLaughlin's performance I thought was better, because she's getting into those areas where you would want your number 10 to be in. And this is the one here. It doesn't actually look like Kiara Keating gets a hand to it. Initially, I thought she did, and then in this one, it just looks like it hits the crossbar. But yeah, they had a couple of moments, Sweden, where they were getting in behind, but nothing really caused England any problems.
Yeah, that chance there, Johanna Runemark hitting the bar, was comfortably Sweden's best opportunity of the game. The Djurgården forward ultimately not quite able to score. And Runemark got in a nice position there, and ultimately ended up only side-footing the ball, deflecting off her teammate for a goal kick, but it was sporadic, rare chances for Sweden on the break, and Keating ultimately had just 2 shots on target to deal with, which were both pretty simple saves.
Yeah, and I think for Kiara Keating, it's great to get more minutes in the bank, especially at international level. Thought she was comfortable today. Didn't really, I mean, Sweden had 2 shots the entire game and never really caused England any problems. Now, like I said, England were amazing, but Sweden, from minute 1, were on the back foot, were sitting in a really low block, sitting really deep, inviting the pressure on. And, you know, I love to see these types of scenes, taking the pictures, savouring the moment. It's what you love to see. Well done.
And the other thing is, there is a brutal reality of the fact that not literally every single one of these players will go on to be a Lioness. But no matter what happens in their career and their lives from this point, this will be a memory that they look back on so fondly, to have gone and won silverware for England. And the ones that do, of course, it will give them that much more confidence when stepping up to the shirt.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I won the Cyprus Cup with England, and it was something that people didn't really think was that big of a deal, but we did. You know, at the end of the day, Michael, winning a trophy and winning is all that matters.
England being presented as your winners of this women's under-23s European competition. Just the 2nd season it's existed. Germany won it last season, but it's England who've got their hands on it now. Anouk Denton and Ruby Mace lift the trophy. It is England who have won the under-23s European competition friendly finals here in Murcia. 12 of Europe's best started the season seeking to have their hands on that trophy, but it is England who have deservedly done it. After a horrid start, losing 5-0 against Germany, they have fought their way back, winning Group A, conceding just 1 goal in 5 games across their last 3 group stage matches, and then the semi-final and final this week. What a first camp for Lydia Bedford, and what moments for these young Lionesses, who will never forget days like this. And remember as well that when they're back in England, you can come and watch them. October 2025, they'll be at home against Norway. I understand there'll likely be a friendly fixture as well at home during that international break. In the November and December, I meant October 2026, of course. You'd do well to watch them in October 2025 now, but at home against Norway in October 2026, and then in November 2026, they've got Belgium at home and Portugal away, and then March 2027 brings Italy at home in next season's group phase. The top 2 go through to the semi-finals, which will once again be here in Spain. But for now, England are the champions. And just give us a sense from your playing experience, Leanne Sanderson, of the emotions as a player like this. You referred to that journey with the Cyprus Cup, but to these players, ultimately, it's silverware in an England shirt. It's as simple as that. Yeah,
it's lovely to see, and I love the fact they're savouring this moment, and I love the fact they're playing Queen We Are the Champions, because this is what it's all about. Like, sometimes, you know, you're away from your friends, your family, and your teammates become your family. Do you know what I mean? You're with them all the time. And again, for someone like Chloe Sorry to be 17 years old, to lift silverware with your country, like, it's honestly, it's amazing. And it's the biggest honor, like I keep saying, representing your country. I did it 50 times, and I remember every game, every moment I stepped on the field. I remember every single time I played, my debut, my first goal. And, you know, like you say, Michael, not every single one of these players will make it to the senior team. So this is something that cannot be taken away from any of these individuals, and a lot of sacrifice goes on behind the scenes, especially to the staff as well. Fair play to them, because the technical staff, the assistant coaches, not bad for Lydia Bedford, 2nd game in charge.
Exactly. Lydia Bedford getting the opportunity to take over a team that were already in a semi-final, and this is a lovely moment as well, because there's the team behind the team. You can see on the left and the right-hand side there, all of the support staff, the nutritionists, the doctors, the physios, the analysts, the coaches, the operations team. They are all ultimately part of that wider team that has been successful. It is a collective effort, and so it's right that it should be celebrated as a collective, of course, as well.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, you can see what it means to the players. Like I said, Ruby Mace was excellent. Leonard Gunn-Williams had a fantastic campaign. We were there when she scored her first goal. for the Lionesses. We were there when she made her first start, you know, and these players, like I said, a lot of them have got bright futures ahead, and hopefully they'll start to play more minutes in the WSL.
And of course, next season, this competition is going to be really interesting because the dynamic for it changes for England. When they face Norway in October, they will be the team of the 12 that everybody's looking at and that the teams in their group are chasing as the defending champions. And that's another mentality shift, isn't it?
Definitely. And I think, like I said, I think from the senior team winning back-to-back Euros, we're now a team that people highly respect. And even coming to the World Cup next year, they'll be looking at that. And for this young under-23 team, I think you're looking at them, there'll be a lot of these players that will still be there. There'll be some people like Freya Godfrey, she got selected for the first team, had to pull out due to injury. But, like, ultimately, you have to take care of businesses in front of you, have performances like they saw today. And, you know, Serena will pick you. She will, like, as we've seen, and I think that's the ultimate goal. But right now, they look like they're loving life and enjoying it, and I love to see that. I love seeing England win a trophy. Every single time, it means a lot.
And I know it's difficult because it is a collective effort, but if there was a few that you might have to pick out of the ones that haven't already, of course, been capped, like a Ruby Mace, who do you think we might see making that step up next?
I mean, Chloe Sawi. I don't care if she's 17. I don't care if she's 7. I don't care if she's 27.
She's the baby of the under-23.
She doesn't look it, though, and age is only a number. So all day long, and I think Lexi Potter as well deserves an opportunity, and I have no doubt it will come. Keep their head down. You know, sometimes a lot of young players are going to get too much too soon, and you don't want to put too much pressure on them. But I do think there's a lot of young players in this team that can step up.
So what a day for England. What a day for the young Lionesses. 12 teams started this tournament this season, desperate to get their hands on the trophy. England had the worst possible start, losing 5-0 against their arch rivals, Germany. But since then, they conceded just 1 goal in 5 games. They won both the semi-finals and the final with clean sheets. And today, rather than make it 4 consecutive 1-0 wins, they thought, go on then, we'll score a couple more. It's England who are your women's under-23 European competition champions. We've been delighted to bring it to you. Thank you very much to Leanne Sanderson for joining me. We'll see you next time. But for now, from Spain, it's goodbye.